Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. We hear it all the time, right? Chess. It's supposed to be this amazing brain booster, makes you smarter, helps your grades, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's almost like a given nowadays that if
Uh,
you want to supercharge your thinking skills, you got to get yourself on that chessboard.
Exactly. It's so tempting to just accept that, because chess is complex, it just must be good for your brain overall. But we're all about digging deeper here on the deep dive. So today, we're tackling this idea head on with, well, a pretty hefty piece of research.
Hefty is right. We're looking at a review article. And not just any review article. This one's titled, get this, Chess Instruction Improves Cognitive Abilities and Academic Performance. Real effects or wishful thinking?
Catchy, right? But the title's not even the half of it. This review analyzes a whopping 45 different studies on chess and cognition.
45 studies. That's a lot of data. We're talking over 12,000 participants from 19 countries. So this isn't just some small-scale thing. Nope. At all. And that's why we're diving into this particular review for you, our listeners, who want to cut through the noise and get a clear picture of what the science actually says. Well, this is it. We're basically doing the heavy lifting for you, synthesizing all these findings into, hopefully, a digestible and insightful conversation.
Exactly. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right in.
Right off the bat, the review acknowledges that there's this widespread optimism about chess, right? That it's this cognitive miracle worker.
For sure. You hear claims about it boosting, all sorts of mental skills, logic, planning, problem solving, you name it. It's like the ultimate brain training tool.
Yeah, like a mental gym membership or something. But here's where the researchers put on the brakes a little. They point out three major limitations in a lot of the research that's been done on chess and cognition.
Okay, limitations. Let's hear them. Hit us with limitation number one. All right, so the first one is this. They argue that many studies kind of skip over a really crucial question, like why would we even expect skills learned in chess to just magically transfer to other areas of life?
Right, right. It's like just because you can outmaneuver your opponent on a chessboard, does that automatically mean you're going to write a killer essay or solve complex math problems with ease?
Exactly. There needs to be a solid theory behind it. Like,
Mhm.
what are the specific cognitive mechanisms that chess supposedly improves, and how do those translate to success in other, seemingly unrelated areas? This whole idea of transfer of learning, a lot of studies just kind of gloss over that, according to the review.
That makes sense. So what's limitation number two?
Well, the second issue they raise is about study design. They point out that many studies lack strong control groups. If you're comparing kids who learn chess to kids who don't, but those other kids aren't doing anything else mentally stimulating, how do you know the benefits are really from chess? Maybe any engaging activity would lead to similar improvements.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, are the chess kids getting smarter because of chess or just because they're, using their brains more actively than the kids who are, I don't know, just watching TV?
Precisely. And then there's the third limitation they highlight. This one's a bit more technical, but stick with me. It's about the way the data's been analyzed in a lot of these studies.
All right, lay it on us.
Okay, so they're basically criticizing this over-reliance on a statistical method called NHST, null hypothesis significance testing.
NHST. Got it. But for those of us who aren't statisticians, what's the problem with that?
Well, the main issue is that focusing solely on NHST can lead to this obsession with whether an effect exists, statistically speaking. But it doesn't tell you much about how big or how meaningful that effect actually is in the real world. So you might have studies finding a statistically significant benefit of chess, but the actual effect is so tiny that it's basically meaningless in practice.
Okay, so I'm seeing a pattern here. This review isn't pulling any punches. They're really scrutinizing the existing research.
No, they're definitely taking a critical approach. And because of these limitations they identified, they decided to do their own analysis, a meta-analysis to be precise.
Meta-analysis. Sounds fancy.
It's basically like a study of studies. You take the results from a bunch of individual studies that are all looking at the same question, in this case, the effects of chess instruction, and you combine them statistically to get a more precise estimate of the overall effect.
So they're taking all those 45 studies, pooling all the data together to get a bigger, clearer picture?
Exactly. And we're not talking small numbers here. The review analyzed data from 100 tests of cognitive ability and 108 tests of academic performance, all pulled from those 45 studies.
Wow, that's a lot of tests. So what did they find when they crunched all those numbers? What's the overall effect of chess instruction?
Well, they calculated the average effect size using a measure called Hedges G, and they found an average effect size of 0.572.
Okay, 0.572. Give us some context here. What does that actually mean? Is that a big effect, a small effect?
Well, in the world of effect sizes, zero point 0.5 is generally considered a medium effect. Not huge, but not tiny either.
So suggesting that chess might have some noticeable benefits.
Yeah, potentially. And this is a big, but they also reported the confidence interval for that effect size, and that ranged from 0.127 to 1.062.
Hold on, back up. Confidence interval. Explain that for us non-statisticians.
Sure. It basically tells you the range of values within which the true effect is likely to fall. So it's like saying we found an average effect of 0.572, but the real effect could be anywhere between 0.127 and 1.062.
Okay, so a pretty wide range then. What does that tell us?
Well, it tells us there's a lot of variability in the results across all those different studies. Some studies found a much bigger impact of chess, while others found a much smaller impact, or even no impact at all.
So it's not a simple story of chess makes everyone smarter. It's more complicated than that.
Way more complicated. And that's where things get even more interesting. Because the researchers didn't just stop at the overall average effect. They actually went deeper and compared the results for studies that look specifically at cognitive abilities versus those that look at academic performance.
Okay, interesting. Separate those out. What did they find?
Well, here's where we start seeing some real differences. For the studies on academic performance, things weren't looking so good. They found lower statistical power in those studies, meaning they were less likely to detect a real effect, even if it existed.
Okay, so maybe some of those studies missed a real benefit of chess on grades just because they weren't designed well enough to find it.
Exactly. But there's more. They also found a higher proportion of potential false positive results in the academic performance studies. That means some studies might have concluded that chess improved grades when in reality it didn't.
Ooh, false positives. That's never good.
Nope. And on top of that, they found evidence of publication bias in the academic performance studies. This is that annoying tendency for studies with positive results to be more likely to get published.
Right, the publish or perish pressure. So we might only be seeing the studies that make chess look good, while the studies that found no effect are just sitting in a file drawer somewhere.
Exactly. And then finally, they found lower replication rates for those academic performance studies.
Meaning that when other researchers tried to repeat those studies, they were less likely to get the same results.
Yep. So all in all, the evidence for chess having a direct, reliable impact on academic performance, well, it's just not very strong, at least not based on the current research.
Okay, so that's a pretty clear message. But what about the studies on cognitive abilities? Were there similar problems there?
Not as much, actually. While the evidence for chess improving things like memory and attention wasn't perfect, those issues we talked about, low power, false positives, publication bias, low replication, they weren't as severe in the cognitive studies compared to the academic ones.
Interesting. So it seems like the jury's still out on whether chess can truly boost your cognitive skills. But the evidence for it directly improving your grades is pretty shaky.
That's a fair assessment. And this brings us back to that first limitation they mentioned, that lack of a strong theoretical explanation for how chess skills would even transfer to other areas. And this is where they bring up the concept of far transfer.
Far transfer, explain that one.
So far transfer is this idea that learning a specific skill in one very narrow area, like chess, can somehow improve your performance in a totally different, much broader area, like your overall cognitive ability or your performance across all school subjects. It's like expecting that learning to play the piano will magically make you a better writer or a faster runner.
Right, it's a big leap. And what's the review's take on far transfer?
Well, they basically argue that it's unlikely. Those specific thinking skills you use in chess might not actually overlap that much with the skills you need in other areas. The connection isn't always so clear-cut.
So they're saying that the hope that chess will make you generally smarter, a better student overall, that might be misplaced.
Yeah, the evidence for that kind of far transfer is pretty weak, according to the review. However, they do bring up another possibility. They talk about near transfer as an area where chess might have a more direct impact, and one that hasn't been studied as thoroughly.
Near transfer. Okay, what's the difference?
Think of near transfer as applying the skills you learn in one task to another task that's very similar or closely related. For instance, maybe learning chess improves a specific type of spatial reasoning skill that's also directly involved in, say, solving geometry problems. That would be near transfer.
Okay, so instead of hoping that chess will make you a genius across the board, maybe we should be looking at whether it improves very specific skills that are closely linked to the game itself.
Exactly. The authors suggest that focusing on these near transfer outcomes with well-designed studies could be a more fruitful way to understand the potential cognitive benefits of chess.
Makes sense. So it sounds like the message here is to be more realistic about the potential benefits of chess. It might not be a magic bullet for general intelligence or academic success, but it could have more specific, targeted effects on certain cognitive skills.
Right. Don't expect miracles, but don't dismiss the possibility of some real, albeit limited benefits either. And here's where the review gets really interesting. Even though they raise all these doubts about the evidence for far transfer, they end on a very pragmatic note. They suggest that chess might still be a worthwhile activity to teach, even if it doesn't have a direct impact on broad cognitive abilities and academic performance.
Really? Why is that? If the evidence for those big claims is weak, why bother with chess at all?
Well, they don't spell it out explicitly, but they seem to be hinting at other potential values of learning chess. It could be about fostering engagement in a challenging activity, developing perseverance, improving focus and concentration. Or maybe it's about the social and emotional benefits of playing a game, the thrill of competition, the satisfaction of mastering a complex skill.
That's a great point. It's like, even if chess doesn't directly translate to better grades or a higher IQ, it might still be a valuable educational experience for all sorts of other reasons.
Absolutely. And that's something to think about. It's not always about measurable outcomes. Sometimes the value of an activity lies in the process itself and the skills and habits you develop along the way.
Well said. So, for you, our listeners, here's the takeaway from this deep dive. The idea that chess is a guaranteed brain booster, that it'll make you smarter in every way and send your grades soaring, well, the evidence for that is pretty shaky, especially when it comes to academic performance. The concept of far transfer, applying chess skills to unrelated areas, is a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, but the door's not completely closed. There's still the possibility of near transfer benefits, where chess might enhance specific cognitive skills that are closely related to the game. But we need more research and better research to really understand that.
Absolutely. And even if those direct, measurable benefits turn out to be smaller than we hoped, chess might still be a worthwhile activity for all sorts of other reasons. The joy of the game, the mental challenge, the social interaction. So there's definitely more to consider than just whether chess makes you smarter.
A lot more. It's a
Oh,
complex issue, and this review does a great job of highlighting those complexities.
couldn't agree more. And that brings us to our final thought for today. Given everything we've learned, if you were to design a study on the cognitive benefits of chess, what would you focus on? What kind of skills would you investigate, and how would you measure those skills? Think about the difference between far transfer and near transfer, and how you could design a study that would actually provide some meaningful insights into the specific ways chess might or might not enhance our cognitive abilities.
The fascinating question, and one that deserves further exploration. And remember, folks, this is just the beginning of the conversation. There's always more to learn, more to question, and more to discover
Yeah.
about the amazing capacity of the human brain.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.